Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time, I want to go over a misconfiguration that many architects or many people have when it comes to AWS or cloud security, I should say. And that is that SSH is 100% secure. And if you're using SSH, then your server is 100% protected and cannot be hacked. And that is not true. And let's go over this for a couple of minutes. First, what I want to show you here, this is my test AWS account, one of the many accounts you can create for free. And I'm configuring a Ubuntu computer 22. And as you can see, I am opening SSH for administrative access over the public interface. And I'm gonna this EC2 instance is gonna be assigned a public interface, and the only port that's gonna be available, that's gonna be open, is gonna be SSH. So anybody would think, or anybody knows that if we're gonna transfer something over the public network, you have to use a secure encrypted protocol. In this case, this is SSH, and we're taking this one step forward, in which we're gonna be using an SSH key to connect from our client to the remote computer. And we may think that that's going to be bulletproof and 100% protected, but that's not the case. Something that you have to think about when it comes to security is not only the port, but what is listening on that port. And in this case, we have Ubuntu 22 with an application, an SSH server listening on port 22. And yes, that communication is going to be encrypted, but the application behind the port is vulnerable, which is going to make your, in this case, EC2 instance vulnerable to potential attacks. So let me come down here. I'm going to go back. Okay, so I'm not going to create this. I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to go back to my instances. And I do have one running instance. And this instance has a public IP address, as you can see right here, automatically assigned. And this is an instance running Ubuntu 22.2, I believe it is 22.04. When I spin up this instance, it's going to be listening on port 22 to anyone attempting to connect to it over SSH. Obviously, the only people that are going to be able to establish that authorized connections are the people with the proper SSH key. However, something that you have to keep in mind is that, as I mentioned before, the SSH application running on Ubuntu is vulnerable. So if I am an attacker, so I'm going to come right here to my computer to see what we have there. And as you can see, it has identified that 13 to 20, 32, 146 has port 22 SSH open. So remember, whatever communication that I'm going to have between the remote server and a client, that communication is going to be encrypted. So we know that. But what about if you want to learn more about the service running on that um, server, right? Like -s capital V. Let's give it a second for that to finish what it's doing. And as you could see, it is showing you that OpenSSH 8.9p1 running on Ubuntu is the application listening on port 22. Now, at this moment, you don't know if there are any vulnerabilities on that application based on the output of the command. It's very simple. You can just do a search for OpenSSH 8.9p1 to learn if there are any vulnerabilities, or you can also do the vulnerable script on nmap. Let me do this script von. But that's going to take a minute. And as you can see here on this screen, let me come up. That version of SSH is known to have vulnerabilities as part of the system. And as you could see, you can find some of the exploits right in here. And the rating is pretty high, right? You have 10s and 9.8, which is that it has been proven, at least in theory, that the application is vulnerable. So, something that you have to keep in mind, and let me say this one more time, the fact that the communication is over SSH and is encrypted does not mean that the server is protected. You may have a secure lock. Let's say that you go to the Home Depot and you purchase the most expensive and secure lock that you're going to install on your door. But it just so happens that the door that you're using is an old wood door that anybody can kick it and open, and knock the door down. So that is similar to what we have here. So by having SSH, you're using a secure, strong lock, but the door where SSH is running on is weak. And that's what's happening here. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you deploy your cloud infrastructure. And there are many things that you can do for that. And this is not in this case, an AWS security class or anything like that, but you may think about disabling the SSH port over the public interface, right? Or let's say that your administrators need to access SSH on that specific EC2 instance. AWS has different ways where you can deploy that with Session Manager, or you can do a VPN or something like that. The point is just don't leave SSH unattended and open, thinking that because you're doing encryption, that is a secure connection. So if you found this information useful, all I ask you to do is to click on the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and let me know if you have any question. I'll try to answer the question when I have time. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next video.